Okay, today I'm experimenting with some texture. I had a friend over who was using her saw, and of course sawdust went everywhere. So I was thinking that just might create some nice texture on my canvas for painting. So that's what I'm experimenting with today. I tried to find some golden polymer gel, which I understand is good for pouring, but I could not find it in the store or online that was immediately accessible. So I'm going to be using just regular gesso, not stirring it up a lot because I don't want to have too many bubbles, but I just have this Cool Whip bowl that I'm going to be using to mix it up in, and I think I'm going to begin by just putting a little bit in my bowl. Now, if you don't have access to sawdust, I'm sure you probably have a friend who would love for you to come and clean up his workshop. And I'm not going to experiment too much with color at this point till I find out whether I'm going to get this to stick or not. So, the nice thing about mixed medium is that you can do just about anything that you can get away with. And if it works, good. If it doesn't, that's okay too. And I'm actually working outside today, but I just put this old piece of plastic underneath my canvas. And just kind of mixing this stuff up. I add a little bit of water so that this might flow a little easier. And like I said, it's nothing ventured, nothing gained. Just going to pour it on here. I sort of have an idea in my mind where I want this part of the texture to go. So kind of experimenting with how to actually get it on here and how much I want to get on here. You can see some really nice possibilities here. And I have plenty of sawdust to work with, so I can keep sort of adding it in. I've used gesso with sand, and that worked out okay. Can't remember now what I did with those attempts, so I can't really say how long that sand stuck. I didn't do anything extra to prime my canvas because it was already primed with gesso. And I just happen to have a really old canvas in the garage. And this is going to be a textured abstract painting anyway, so whatever happens will just be fun. But I do want to make sure I control what is happening with the gesso, so when it dries I won't have to deal with strokes I don't like. just added a little bit of water to this gesso that's in my container. And I'm finding it's not quite spreading like I wanted because it tends to stick together. But as with all experiments, sort of get what you get. Try doing this the opposite way. Maybe separate before I wet. I'm working outside, so the wind is going to be having its way with these light particles. And I actually just had a little bit of a brainstorm. I think I'm going to get a spray bottle. And there are technical difficulties once in a while. I realize you probably can't see all that I'm doing right now because I couldn't get my camera up high enough in this location. Still just using plain white gesso. To wet some more. I'm using my brush to flatten out and get all of this stuff wet so that when it dries it'll stick. Or at least I hope it will. Okay, that's, I think that worked a little better because I was able to pull the sawdust, or the wood fibers as it were. I was able to pull them away from each each other. So now I'm going to try some other. I think this time I'm just going to try to spread some little pieces around that aren't clumpy at all. It might help. Since the wind is blowing in, I do have my fan blowing. Okay, while I was looking for my eggshells, I found some other things to add to this, but I frankly don't want it to be very busy, so I may not use them. But a word about eggshells. They make very nice textures. I would advise you to flatten them out pretty much and make them small. The other thing is that you have to remove that, what do you call it? That film. I'm just going to put these right in with my other stuff here. I didn't crack them up a lot when I was taking that film off because I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with them. But now that I know. By the way, that's a very tedious process, removing that film. Not sure what you call that. There's a piece of it right there. It didn't come off. And while it's tedious, it's something that you can do while you're waiting on your cake to bake. Now, another thing that I've worked with in the past, in fact, covered my whole canvas, just with tissue paper. And I was thinking maybe tissue paper would be good to hold some things in place, while also creating some more texture, because it wrinkles up nicely. In some respects, it's going to hopefully hold my other textures on the canvas. rice paper also works very nicely to create texture. You would do it basically the same way I'm doing this. Definitely want to make sure this tissue paper is stuck down, especially since it's going to be holding down my other details. It's probably a little hard to tell on this video because so far it's white on white. I'm going around picking up some of my excess gesso. To make sure my tissue paper is going to be glued sufficiently. I'm really just tearing off pieces as I go along. Repeat patterns are good, and they really should be, to some extent, all over your canvas. They can be slight, and that certainly applies to color and texture. Because you want to keep the eye moving through your work, even if it's abstract. gesso is going to be the stuff that makes it stick to the canvas. So now that I've finished putting what I think I want for this time, make sure that I didn't dilute my gesso too much. And this should not take too very long to dry. It's a good time to make sure that my paper is stuck down.